is a spiritual deity. Freedom and liberty and justice shall fight for you. When you fight for freedom with all your soul, take it from me. This is Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB, the voice of the nation, the voice of the rising sun.
And here is a special announcement from the leadership of Biafra government in exile. This is BCB. Fellow Biafrans, this is Rosama, and this is BCB's late breaking news bulletin. Late yesterday, October 13th, we received news that the appeal court in Abuja, Nigeria, has released Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, IPOB, and has vacated the remaining 7 charges against him. We are excited. We are happy that this court has seen reason and has listened to the calls from domestic and international groups for the release of Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally, because his extradition and imprisonment violated his human rights and dignity. But we are also especially glad that this court sided with Kanu's protest that his extradition from Kenya was an injustice and a violation of international and national laws. We wish Mazi Nnamdi Kanu good health and strength in the future. Our program today is devoted to him, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Why, you may ask? Because he is our son, he is our brother, he is one of us, he is Biafran. And like all Biafrans who have suffered and who are still suffering, he has suffered because he is Biafran. Therefore, his suffering is also ours. Nigeria's denial of his human rights, dignity, and humanity is symbolically a denial of ours as Biafrans. In today's program, we offer you the voices of various news media sources as they respond to Nnamdi Kanu's release. We have tried not to comment. So, you will hear excerpts from various newspapers and media sources in Nigeria and in the diaspora responding to the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu by the Nigerian Court of Appeal in Abuja on October 13th, 2022. October 13, Punch.com's title reads, quote, "Appeal Court frees Nnamdi Kanu," unquote. And here's an excerpt, quote, "The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, on Thursday upheld the appeal of the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The court also discharged and acquitted the embattled leader of the proscribed group. Kanu had in his appeal dated April 29th and marked CA-ABJ-CR-625-2022 applied to be discharged and acquitted. Kanu was first arraigned on December 23rd, 2015, and was later granted bail on April 25th, 2017. However, the Court of Appeal on Thursday declared as illegal and unlawful the abduction of Kanu from Kenya to Nigeria and quashed the entire terrorism charges brought against him by the federal government, unquote. October 14th, from Premium Times Nigeria, under the title, "Why Nigerian Government Must Release Nnamdi Kanu Even If It Appeals Court Ruling," lawyer. According to Premium Times, quote, "Human rights lawyer Inibehe Effiong has given reason the Nigerian government must release Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, even if they decide to appeal the court ruling discharging him." The Court of Appeal in Abuja on Thursday struck out the terrorism charges filed against Mr. Kanu by the government and ordered his release from the custody of the State Security Services, SSS. It held that the IPOB leader was, quote, extraordinarily, unquote, rendition to Nigeria, and that the action was a flagrant violation of the country's extradition treaty and also a breach of his fundamental human rights. Quote, should the federal government decide to appeal the discharge and acquittal of Nnamdi Kanu by the appeal court, it must still release Kanu, unquote, Mr. Effiong said on Twitter hours after the ruling. This is because the liberty of a citizen cannot be stayed. There is no room for stay of execution in this kind of case, he said. Sahara Reporters, October 13, title, Breaking, Court of Appeal acquits, discharges IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, says rendition from Kenya illegal. Quote, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has ruled that the rendition of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya, was illegal, and therefore he should be discharged and acquitted. The court was ruling in the appeal filed by Kanu, challenging the criminal charges against him. In the update on the court's ruling provided by Kanu's lawyer, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, he said, quote, update, Onyendu, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's abduction, an extraordinary rendition from Kenya, is declared illegal and consequently constitutes a bar to further proceeding/trial. Court held that it was done in clear and egregious violation of extant international laws. Therefore, there is no justification whatsoever, even the warrant of arrest is issued in Nigeria cannot justify the illegality in the abduction and extraordinary rendition of Onyendu Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Appeal allowed. Onyendu Mazi Nnamdi Kanu discharged and acquitted. We have won. Victory, 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 victory. Unquote. The Guardian, Nigeria's title says, quote, Nnamdi Kanu's freedom will bring more peace, improve security to Southeast stakeholders, unquote. Quote, some stakeholders in Abakaliki, Ebonyi capital have reacted to the freedom granted to Nnamdi Kanu by the Court of Appeal in Abuja on Thursday. According to The Guardian, Mr. Christopher Okorie, coordinator of the National Human Rights Commission, NHRC in Ebonyi, told news agency of Nigeria, NAN, on Friday that Kanu's discharge was a welcome development to the entire nation, especially to the Southwest. He added, I believe he says South, he means Southeast. He added that, quote, the country's judiciary has come of age and it indicated that our judges are respecters of human rights. I believe now there will be peace in the land, especially in the Southeast. I call on the courts, federal and state government to also look into the matter of every other detained citizen and give them justice, unquote. From ICIRnigeria.org, quote, the Abuja division of the Court of Appeal has discharged and acquitted the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, unquote. Kanu, who is being tried by the federal government on charges bordering on terrorism, was freed by a 3-member panel of the court on Thursday. The appellate court set aside the judgment of an Abuja Federal High Court, which ordered Kanu to answer 7 out of the 15-count terrorism charge filed against him. The appellate court agreed with Kanu's counsel that the IPOB leader was illegally abducted and extraordinarily renditioned from Kenya to Nigeria against both international and local laws. By the illegal abduction and extraordinary rendition of the appellant, there was a clear violation of the respondent, federal government to international treaties, conventions, as well as the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, unquote, the court held. Al Jazeera writes, Nigerian court drops charges against separatist leader Kanu. The decision to drop the charges was a unanimous one by the 3 judges at the Nigerian Appellate Court. The news media continues. On Thursday, the lead judge dismissed a 7-count charge of terrorism against Kanu and discharged him, saying a lower court had no jurisdiction to try the case and that Kanu was abducted and extraordinarily extradited to Nigeria. And finally, BBC Pidgin's title reads, Nnamdi Kanu discharged. Appeal court free IPOB leader of charges, FG Sama against him. And then writes, the appeal court for Abuja don't discharge the charges where Nigerian government bring against the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. The 3-man panel where Justice Jumai Hanatu lead took eye for the case, say Kanu no get case to answer again, as the federal government court no get jurisdiction to try him in the first place, unquote. But while we may jubilate, the federal government of Nigeria is discontent with the appeal court's ruling. As ICIR and other media sources reveal, the federal government of Nigeria is preparing for more or a new war with Kanu. According to ICIR, the federal government has said it will explore other legal options to overturn the appeal court judgment which freed the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, said this in a statement signed by his spokesperson, Umar Gwandu, on Thursday. The AGF said the court did not go into the substantive case which was ongoing before Kanu jumped bail. He hinted that the court's verdict, which centered on the illegal rendition of Kanu, would be appealed. Quote, for the avoidance of doubt, and by the verdict of the court, Kanu was only discharged and not acquitted, he said, unquote, he said. Quote, consequently, the appropriate legal options before the authorities will be exploited and communicated accordingly to the public. The decision handed down by the Court of Appeal was on a single issue that borders on rendition. Let it be made clear to the general public that other issues that predate rendition on the basis of which Kanu jumped bail remain valid issues for judicial determination. The federal government will consider all available options open to us on the judgment on rendition while pursuing determination of pre-rendition issues, unquote. BCB does not have any more details about this important breaking news event. We await more information from our contacts in the homeland. Let it be clear, however, BCB still believes that Kanu's human rights must be preserved. Demanding freedom for once oppressed people is protected by the UN Declaration of Universal Human Rights. In this, we support Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So, it is time for Nigeria to swallow its pride and sheath its sword. Perhaps it is Malami who must do this. Enough with the threats of violence and psychological or symbolic dismemberment. Biafrans, let us watch this new development vigilantly. Again, we congratulate Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and we salute his lawyers for their diligent work on securing his freedom. We applaud the appeal court's ruling and recognition of Kanu's human rights. We also call for justice for all Biafrans and indigenous people held in captivity for demanding their freedom and human rights. We invite you to join us in our next programs. Like us on Facebook and YouTube. Send us your comments, your feedback. Peace. This is Rosama, and this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. Let's get wiser.
The more we fight together, 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 the more we fight together, and stronger we shall be. The more we fight together, 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 the more we fight together, and stronger we shall be. Rising soul, hey, rising soul, yeah. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Believe it or leave it, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. We've been crying, the world claim not to hear. And we've been lamenting, the world claim not to hear. Our tears flow, the world claim not to see. And our blood flow, the world claim not to see. This is a crime, oh no, against humanity, oh no, yeah, this is a crime. Eritrea spoke up, they were given independence. South Sudan spoke, they were given independence. Namibia spoke up, they were given independence. Give me the reason my people got to be neglected. Give me the reason my people got to be rejected. Give me the reason our freedom got to be a crime. Give me the reason our own freedom got to be denied. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. I tell you what, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Believe it or leave it. Oh no. Whoa.
Thank you for listening to us today. Join us next time for news, cultural, and educational programs. This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Hail to